Sometimes life cracks us open in ways we never expected. A marriage ends, a chapter closes, and suddenly you're left staring at yourself in the mirror, asking, who am I now? Welcome to the Self Concept Bestie podcast. I'm Laura. And in today's episode, I'm sitting down with Stacey, a woman who walked through the fire of divorce and somehow found herself piece by piece. We talk about what it really feels like to lose your sense of self, how to rebuild when you have no idea where to start, and what it means to come home to you again. Hi, Stacey.
Hi,
and welcome
Laura.
to the podcast.
So excited.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yes, I am excellent. Right, let's get right into it, okay? So, when you came out of your marriage, suddenly to face yourself outside of that identity, what was the hardest part about rediscovering who you were?
I think the whole concept of discovering who I was. So I very much feel like I didn't know what I like to do. I didn't know what I like to even eat. I think outside of being a wife and a mum, I didn't actually know who I was as a person. I didn't really have any hobbies. And like I say, right down to like not even knowing what I like to eat, where I like to go, what I like to do. So those were some of the things that I think were the hardest in rediscovering who I was. And I also think in order to do that, you need confidence, and my confidence was at an all-time low. So I had to very much establish that first and work on me first before I could then rediscover myself and discover all these things.
And what was the starting point for you then? After that divorce and you came out of that, at what point did you start asking, who am I?
I think when I was starting to go into like settings where I was very, very anxious, so like going into unknown and unfamiliar territory. So like I was very much on the brinks of my career. I had gone part-time and I then had to show up to a job, but it was right smack bang in the middle of my actual divorce, and I had to put myself into an environment that I was so uncomfortable in and just go, and it was like a sink or swim moment. And I think I very much was just like, Stacey, you have to do this, because I had no choice. I had a dependent. I had a 3-year-old. He's now 3, he was 1 at the time, who depended on me, and I think it was just like a sink or swim.
Yeah.
So
do you almost feel like you were in that fight or flight mode?
Yeah, 100%. And I think every day was a fight in general in those initial stages, because I was very much like, some days just fighting to how will I actually get to bedtime and just get through the day. And then other times it was like smashing things out the park and achieving things, but every day looked totally different.
Yeah. And did that have like an effect on your mental health?
Oh, massively. So that's a huge part of why I started running. It was the only kind of escape as such, but also on the other hand, a place where I could really sort of like process things. And so I started to run most days, and that's how I kind of started my journey then to the half marathon. And that was a huge part in rediscovering myself.
It must have felt so rewarding to get to that and doing that for you in that moment when you'd kind of almost maybe felt like you were failing before.
Yeah, God, I felt like when I first started running, like I was running in floods of tears, just processing my whole life and how it had changed overnight. And then gradually, as much as the journey was about running and I was building like kilometre after kilometre, the journey was actually about finding myself gradually.
Yeah, that is amazing. So do you think running was kind of a key point in your healing journey for you?
Huge.
Yeah, and are you still loving it?
Yeah, I ran the half marathon in May, and I've kind of fell off the training because other things have came into my life, and it's just really busy as a working mum. But I am planning again to run it again in May. So.
Amazing. And at what point with your mindset did you think, I need to change this? Like, obviously you had that where you're running, you knew that you were kind of processing the emotions throughout, but at what point was your mindset like, I deserve better than this, I deserve to have like a life that I love? Was there any kind of process that you went through with that?
I massively think you go through that towards the end of your marriage anyway, because that's probably a huge decider in the fact that you're leaving or that you're separating. But I think I very much in the early days was in such a broken place as a woman that I felt like a huge part of me at that point was very much like, you can either sit and allow it to completely break you, keep destroying you, feel sorry for yourself, almost go into like that pity party.
Yeah.
Oh my God, why me? That victim mode. But actually then I think very quickly into it, like even I would maybe say just a couple of months into it, said to myself, this isn't going to define me. I am going to move on from this. I am going to overcome this. And I almost think I turned that pain into power.
Yes.
And just was like, right, okay, this is my reality. This is life. But I have two options here. I can either sit and cry about it or go out and thrive. And I did choose that.
That is amazing. I think we've both been on quite a similar journey when we've been chatting. We've both been divorced, kind of about the similar time as well. And I think there's a point on that journey, isn't there, that when you are at kind of a low point, you get to decide, am I going to sit here and let the world crumble around me, or are we going to keep rising? And like you say beautifully, we're turning that pain into power.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that, have you found a community within that? I know that me and you, not the listeners won't know, but me and Stacey met on TikTok through kind of enjoying each other's content on our journey, and the inspiration that we both brought to each other's life. What do you feel like that community's done for you on your journey?
So I actually think when I first started to go through this, and it was such unknown territory, because if you've not gone through it, you don't know anything about it or how to navigate it or the ins and outs of everything. And a huge part of me was things like TikTok, Instagram, podcasts. I've spoke to you about Not As We Planned. And I think a huge element of that was like finding people that were going through it that I could relate to, that they could relate with me. And actually now, I've said to you before, Laura, I am quite keen to be the person that I needed when I first started this journey, because there actually wasn't a lot. I have over time met people, but I didn't really have friends that had gone through it. I was kind of watching strangers on the internet. I had started following lawyers, divorce lawyers, and all of these things. So I suppose the network is there now. I've met people like yourself, but I didn't actually have that in the beginning.
Yeah, and it's funny because I would agree with you. I felt the same. You were almost looking at content, looking for the answer, looking for somebody to kind of tell you what to do, or to reassure you that you were doing the right thing, that the mindset work you were doing was actually working. I know when I started looking into like the subconscious reprogramming part and the whole manifesting, I was almost like I was looking for somebody to say, you're doing this right. And I've been working with a girl and she said to me, how do you make this so easy? And I said, I've just created the person that I needed. I am now that for other people, exactly what you said, because I had to navigate that grey area and find my own feet. And now we get to be almost that sounding board for other people. And I think that feels like it comes quite naturally to both of us.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we have both very much been the person that saved ourselves. We've saved ourselves. You're desperately looking for, in those moments, somebody to come and save you, but nobody's coming, Laura. You have to save yourself. So I feel like that's a huge part of it too. You can look for all these networks, you can do and explore all these avenues, but you ultimately have to save yourself.
Yeah, 100% agree. Was there a moment where you caught yourself thinking, wow, I'm actually becoming me again? Like, was there like a little glimpse of your own light coming back? Is there any big turning points that you've noticed?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was definitely in my daily life. So it was things like driving along in the car. I would catch my wee boy in the mirror and I'd be singing full volume and he'd be smiling back at me, so happy. His mummy was happy. My wee boy, I've said to you before, Laura, that he asks me and requires dancing in the kitchen every night before he goes to bed. And it was all elements like that that actually within my marriage and within my previous life, I didn't have, and I definitely had become such a shell of myself. So it was definitely seeing the energy of me coming back, the enthusiasm, the wanting to do things, the wanting to try new things, all of that. I didn't want to do any of that when I was in my marriage. So yeah, I think the hobby was a huge one, the running, but also just little snippets of me laughing, me singing, me dancing, because that's a huge part of me.
Yeah, 100%. I know that's what we've just been talking about that before we recorded this, about how we love to laugh and we're actually quite funny, possibly quite sarcastic, a bit of dark humour, and it doesn't always shine through, because what we talk about, we do love a good deep conversation as well. We thrive on a good deep conversation, but I also can have a laugh in the same sentence as a deep conversation. I think that's a way that we can really connect. I think with the lives we've done on TikTok, it just flows, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's definitely a coping mechanism in itself. If you can laugh and make light of the darkest situations, then you can do anything in the world.
100%. See, when we've talked a wee bit about before about your, like, there's some trauma in that you've went through and you've kind of changed that story. How did you do that? Like, what kind of inner chatter have you had to change to be able to push yourself to kind of keep going and start reprogramming that subconscious mind of yours?
So I think it's definitely a lot of like inner self work. I read a lot of kind of self help books. I love Mel Robbins, the Let Them theory. I've also read Rhonda Byrne, and I read a lot of books to kind of help with guidance of that. But I think you very much need to look at yourself, how you respond to things. What happens around you and what goes on in the world is going to happen anyway, but how you respond and how you react to that, I think, is ultimately...
I love that, Stacey. I love that, because we get to decide, don't we? We get to control that emotion, whether we react or we respond to it. And I think sometimes people will react and they don't realise it's coming from that subconscious place. They've just reacted, possibly maybe over nothing. But when you can start to become aware of that reaction and why you're doing it, that's when we can change it.
Yeah, and I think making the journey about you, so it no longer defines you, the trauma that you've been through or the impact that that's had on you. You have to almost be like, that is my reality, but here's what my outcome is.
Yeah. It doesn't, like, that story doesn't define you. It actually almost fuels you going forward, doesn't it? Like what you said, like we turn that pain into that power. So now that you've like rebuilt that sense of yourself, what does life feel like on the other side? And what would you tell somebody who was still in the last phase of in the lost phase of like a big ending?
So we've just spoke about this just before coming onto this podcast, but a huge part of my journey and what life looks like now is an entirely different life to what it would have or did look like in my marriage. My life could never have looked like this. And I think that is such a nice realization to have. My friendship circle's entirely different. My job is entirely different. My life in general and who I am as a mom, a friend, a sister, a daughter, it would not be this way had I stayed where I was. And I think that's a huge, huge part of reflection for me. But for somebody that's lost and still going through it, a massive part advice I can give would be to find yourself first. Fill your own cup first. If you don't do these basic essentials of finding yourself, rediscovery, and starting life over, and don't be afraid to start from scratch, because it can turn out better than you've ever imagined. So I think a huge, huge thing would be to go back to the absolute foundations and basics of yourself, even before anyone else. And sometimes, we were talking about this other night, that means your own children, because in order to give them the best version of you, you have to fill that cup yourself.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Yeah, we talked about it another night, how we have to come first, and it's that whole aeroplane like the mask on an aeroplane scenario, isn't it? It kind of goes against your motherly instinct, but if we were learning anything on this journey, is when our cup was empty, what kind of parent were we to when our cup was full, because we've decided to put ourselves first. They get the best version of us.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that initially comes with a guilt, because you almost feel that, even when I have my self-care Tuesdays, because I have self-care every Tuesday night and that's my wee time, I feel guilty, like I should be with him, or I should. But in order for me to be, when I am with him, the best version of myself, I have to pour into that cup to be able to provide that. So, and I also feel like a huge part of it is, and when we're talking about like guilt and things, is not carrying guilt that's not yours, and not to feel guilty of the life that you're giving them, because actually you are giving them the best life that you possibly could by doing and deciding what you have.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with you. That sounds amazing. And how far you've came on this journey, and almost still going on it as well. But do you feel that on the journey that there is an ending? I'd love to know kind of what you think. Like, on this healing journey, do you think that there ever is an ending?
I think there's massively things in terms of healing that you probably won't ever fully heal from. And actually, sometimes that happens in dribs and drabs, and actually, sometimes it can resurface. But it's how you respond to that. And I think that is a massive, your own self reflection and the way that you respond to something is ultimately what your outcome is. In terms of healing, do I think that there is an end? I think there's always room to work on yourself.
Yes.
I've said from the very beginning, it starts with you. Everything starts with you. And I think, I think I've came to the end of my journey. We spoke before how in that first year post-separation and beginning of divorce for me was actually really, really difficult. I found it hard. I found it emotional. Whereas that second year, I very much became myself and started to thrive. And I feel like now a huge part of going forward is that I still continue to heal. And actually, a lot of what I want to do is help others to do the same and for them to heal as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but some people say, I can do this when I've healed. I hear this quite a lot. And so for anybody listening who is at that stage where it's like, right, I'll be ready once I've healed this, I think that there isn't ever an end in the healing journey. Things get better. And I think you have to sometimes look back at how far you've came. We can get so wrapped up in, I need to heal this, but actually you don't realise you're naturally healing it on that journey anyway. And you almost have to move forward in that healing and start being happy and content in the present moment, no matter what it looks like, because we'll peel a layer of the onion back, but there'll be another layer there. And it's not shaming that, it's now knowing you've got the tools if something surfaces to move forward.
Yeah, 100%. And definitely embracing it and embracing the journey. And I like what you've just said there about being okay looking back, but actually thinking about where you are now.
Yeah.
I think your present existence is the most important. You can be sad about what's gone, you can reflect on what's gone, and you can have changed yourself. You can be nervous or excited about what's to come, but actually just taking a step back, slowing it down, and sitting exactly where you are is where you need to be.
Yeah, I've always said that, like when you look at like mental health, you've got depression, that's worrying about what happened in the past, and we've got anxiety, which is worrying about what's going to happen in the future. And when you can kind of come into that present moment and just allow yourself to into that space and almost be grateful for the person that you are in this moment and how far you've came. I remember reading something that's like, you never see how far you've came because you keep raising the bar. And I think we're all guilty of that. It's, you keep on pushing yourself because you want to keep getting better and better. But actually, say if this is our perfect right now, and today, right now, this is our perfect moment. And then tomorrow there's going to be another perfect moment. And it's just about appreciating each day, each perfect moment as it comes, and knowing that if something arises, we've got the tools to deal with that at that time.
And a huge part of that, like you say, that perfect is your perspective.
Yes.
I think if you're sitting waiting on life being perfect, you're going to need to watch a lot of it pass you by. I think you need to decide what those perfect things are within your day, and you need to focus your own energy and hone in on those things.
Yeah, 100%. I think people sometimes need to look at the things through a perspective of, okay, I'm actually doing really well. And I don't think as humans we probably give ourselves enough credit.
No, definitely not. And if I could go back on the journey, because of course I don't live with regrets or anything like that, I wouldn't have my wee boy and I wouldn't have the life I have now had I not had what I've gone through. But if I could go back, it would absolutely be to be kinder to myself throughout the process and be like, you are smashing this, Stacey, because there has been some days where I have no idea how I continued to go, but you did. You're some force to be reckoned with. And I think it's recognising that and actually being like, that was amazing. You were in the lowest part of your life and you got up and fought every single day. And I think now when you are where you are now and you can look back on that, it's such a proud moment.
It's so powerful hearing you say that, because you have almost just went back and spoke to that Stacey that needed that and told her exactly what she wanted to hear. And I think that when you do that, that teaches your brain that you're healing that past version of you, which actually heals current you, by speaking that life into yourself and looking back at that broken version of ourselves and giving her the love that she needed and the praise, and seeing actually she got me, she went through some of the hardest times, she got me to where I need to be. I can't shame her. Did we make some mistakes? Yes. But were the mistakes needing to be made? Did she deal with them the best that she could? And you almost, I think, have to love that part of you so fiercely to be so grateful that if she had gave up at any point, would we be sitting here just now?
No, I know. And I think that's why a part of you then wants to fiercely protect the version of you that you've became.
Yeah.
Because it's taken you so long to do that and so much to build from rock bottom and get yourself back, get the journey that you want and all of these things. So I think you then I very fiercely protect that going forward.
Yeah.
And very much my happiness and my little boy's happiness is what my priority is.
Yeah, that is amazing. So kind of getting to the end, is there any words of wisdom that you would give to any of the listeners who are maybe at the start of the journey or in the middle and just needing, you know what, keep going?
I think to just believe that it is right and it is what your journey was meant to look like. I'm a huge believer in destiny, and what's meant for you won't go by you.
Yeah.
And the life path that you're living was exactly the life path that you are meant to live.
Yeah.
So I think to very much trust in the process, find yourself in the new becoming of you, but very much don't dwell on the past. Look to the future. Do these small things within your daily routines to ensure your own happiness and that your life, you make your life exactly what you want to live it.
Yeah, you can get to create your own story.
Yeah.
You get to rise with that power.
And rewrite it. Rewrite your...
Yeah. You can go back, you can rewrite exactly what happened. Tell your story. Tell your story in favour of you and block out the noise.
Absolutely.
That is amazing. Stacey, thank you so much
So
for
exciting.
coming on. This is a journey that me and Stacey are going to start, and there's going to be a lot to come in the future with the both of us. Yes, I am very, very excited about what this has got in store, and I appreciate you so much. You're incredible. Your journey, you're a beautiful human inside and out.
Oh, thanks, Laura. You really inspire me, and I am also the same. I can't wait to see what's to come for us.
Amazing. And I just want to say to all the listeners now, your healing doesn't erase your story, it transforms it into power. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, today is already an amazing day. Thank you so much, Stace.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.